Hello everybody. So today we are speaking about step number 2, where I will share with you a little bit of the techniques in order to go deeper in your meditation. So this is a video in which you can learn how to meditate, and this is for beginners. And when you start with meditation, you will realize maybe you would like some comforting music because it just helps you to feel more comfortable. But I really want to emphasize, please don't use any music, because music is like a distraction. It's going to be beautiful, it's going to be nice, but you're going to drift away with your attention. And what we want is that we bring our attention to everything that's alive in us. That means our thoughts, our emotions, even our physical pain, anything that's actually alive in us. And I know that's actually not really comfortable in the beginning, but that's what we have to face in order to become aware of what's alive in us. And you will see in the beginning, most of the people that I have seen going through meditation practices, they are saying very quickly, oh no, what's happening? It's getting worse. Like, I thought I'm here to relax, to find peace and inner tranquility, but actually my mind is going crazy. And then I would just say, well, great, you're finally becoming aware of the nature of your mind. It's not actually doing what you want, it is going crazy. And we have to become aware of that. So I would like to share with you 2 techniques today that I find really helpful in order to learn to go deeper. And I will speak actually in step number 3, I will speak a little bit more about what is meditation, or concentration versus meditation. So by now hopefully you have watched step number 1, in which you have to go through your posture, because you have to become comfortable with your physical body, that you actually can become aware of your thoughts, of your inner life, and become more aware of what's happening inside of you. So the first technique is called capturing the uncount mind. This is a Buddhist technique, but actually it could be invented by the mathematician. Because what you have to do is very simple, you have to count your breath. So every inhalation, you inhale and then you exhale, you count 1. So another inhalation, exhalation, you count 2. So every cycle of your breath, inhalation and exhalation, you count. And then you kind of drop that number in your chest. So you can start with the cycle of 1 to 7. So 1 to 7 you start, and then you start again when you reach 7, and you start from 1 again and you count to 14. If you reach 14, you start again by 1 and count to 21. This can even be in the beginning too much, it can be too high, the numbers, so then simply use 5. So you count from 1 to 5, and then from 1 to 10, and then from 1 to 15. So that's simply a rhythm that you have to take in order that you start to realize what's alive in you. And it's not about that you have to tell anybody how high you can count, or that you have to reach a goal. It's much more of getting an immediate feedback, because it's training your muscle of awareness. You will see that even though you are counting, you will have some other thoughts. Maybe you think about the shopping or the friend that you will see later, or you'd have a memory of the past, or something happy, something uncomfortable, and then suddenly you forget the number. And that's why you have to be honest with yourself, like, actually I don't know the next number, I've been somewhere else, I've been distracted, or I'm not sure if I have to start now after 7 with 1 again, or did I already do the second cycle where it's like 8 and I have to count to 14. If you're not sure, then you have to be honest to yourself and start with 1 again. But the idea is much more that you're becoming aware of awareness itself. So not about the content so much, but much more that there is an awareness which is actually aware of the numbers, of the thoughts, and that you constantly come back to that. So what you really are is actually this awareness without any object. Therefore we are trained to constantly come back to that unlimited awareness within yourself. So that's why this technique is really helpful. So what you're training with this practice is actually simultaneous awareness of the chest area and the awareness itself of the counting. This brings you a capacity to actually become more and more the witness, and that's what we want to reach with this practice. It's actually just a technique. A technique means you don't have to count to 500 in order to get somewhere. It's much more an invitation to calm the mind, to come back to the capacity of watchfulness. And that's the invitation, and that means after 15 minutes you are stopping that technique and you simply relax. You continue with your normal breath, but there's nothing you have to do anymore. Actually, in that moment, you are becoming aware of the effects of the technique, and that will hopefully bring you a calmness, a quietness, a tranquility, a peacefulness. These are all qualities that you cannot hold on to. It's simply something that you have practiced through the technique and now they are alive in you and you can relax into them. So that's the technique number one. Now the second technique is actually my favorite technique that I'm still using now, and it's a little bit an advanced technique. But nevertheless, I would like to share it to you. And what you're doing, it's actually very, very simple. And with more practice, you will actually become aware of the profoundness of this technique. So when you start to breathe normally, like you are probably told in your yoga classes, you have to do a full yogic breath. That means you fill your belly, allow your belly to expand. Then you inhale in your chest and you even fill your shoulders. That's a full yogic breath, and I really recommend to do that because we have to relax. But after a while, when we're sitting in meditation, then there's nothing that you have to do anymore. It's like you also don't tell yourself, hey, I ate pizza last night and now you have to digest harder and faster because, you know, it was a bit a heavy meal. It's the same way with breath. When you start to meditate, it's actually not that you do something, it's actually that you relax into a process that's already happening and you're becoming aware of it. So in that sense, when you start to breathe, then you start to realize that breath in itself is a natural capacity of your body, therefore you don't have to do anything. But it is quite normal when you become aware of your breath, you start to touch it, you try to manipulate it, you start to put more inhalation or less inhalation in it. That will take a while until you can watch the breath without touching or manipulating it. And when you come to that place is actually when you almost go into hibernation. The breath is becoming less and less. It's becoming more and more subtle, and there's nothing you have to do. The inhalations and exhalations, they happen naturally and very soft and gentle. In that moment, you start to realize that after each inhalation and after each exhalation, there's a short stop, a short break. So especially after an inhalation, you feel your lungs are full, you're not immediately exhaling. There's a gap in between, and in this gap, the lungs are becoming still. And that moment, your mind is actually becoming still. So it's almost something that you can tap into. It's a moment of awareness when you are noticing nothing is happening. It's a complete stillness, it's a complete openness, it's even a mystery. And becoming aware of that, you can actually increase that fragrance, that flavor or a subtle notion of awareness. It's even a profound depth, and it can fill your entire being. And this is how you can actually become more aware of awareness itself rather than breathing. But the breath, it's like going to sleep. It can lead you into that space of complete stillness. So that's a wonderful technique that I would highly recommend to you if you can, to find that spot. Especially if you already have been practicing a little bit of meditation, and if not, then simply become aware of that capacity, how to go deeper. So these two techniques are really, really helpful in the beginning, and I just really highlight to you that we all need techniques, but ultimately every technique, like a mantra, you don't want to repeat it endlessly. You actually want to use the technique in order to still your mind and then drop the technique and actually really feel into the stillness itself, becoming the awareness rather than trying to do something. So what I'm just speaking now about is actually more what meditation is, and that's what I want to explain to you in step number 3, where I want to explain a little bit about the journey when you begin to meditate, and there is definitely effort and struggle involved. And when you're getting to that effortlessness, that naturalness that we are all looking for and we are finding in meditation, hopefully. So thank you so much for joining. I hope you are keeping your meditation consistent, no matter how much it is, but that you're practicing daily. And I see you in the next video where I share more with you. So thank you so much for joining me. I see you next time.